All right, so let's build out this mediator pattern using all the same pieces we did from the observer pattern. So if you look at what we've got our task, which is the same task we've kind of been using all along. Just name, user, completed, all that with the two functions, complete and save. And we're going to leave that intact, and we're just going to use that the way we have been for the last couple of examples. Now we've got our three services, our notification service, our logging service, and our auditing service. And those are the same exact thing we used before. So they just each have an update method that's just going to write out to the console. Although in practice, you would call a service or you'd call an API or go to the database or something. That update method would do something along the lines of whatever the service is for. Now we're creating a new task, create a demo for mediators with the user of me, an instance of our three services. Now, the piece to build out is our mediator. And remember, our mediator is just going to kind of sit in the middle and it's going to manage everything for us. So the first piece of building out the mediator is to get it set up. And we are going to use the revealing module pattern for our mediator. So we want mediator is going to equal, and we're going to just wrap it in an IFI. So function, and then we're going to immediately execute it. There we go. Now our mediator is going to have a couple of pieces to it. We're going to have channels. So you can publish or you can notify to a specific channel. And that's really what everything's built around here. So we've got channels, and that's going to be an object. And then you have publish and subscribe. So let's do publish first. Or actually, let's do subscribe first. And that's going to be a function. And you are subscribing to a specific channel. And just like over on the observer side, we're going to have a context. And then we're going to have a function. So this would be like the callback. I don't like to call it a callback in this situation because it's a little different. Although some would say it's exactly the same thing. But I'm going to call it a function that we're going to execute. Now, when we subscribe, we're going to either add the channel or we're going to just add this subscriber to the channel. So the first thing we want to do is actually check to see, hey, if this channel doesn't exist, well, let's create that channel. And once we've got that done, now let's actually add to that channel. So we'll do mediator.channels, subchannel. Now, you may be tempted to think that this is an array because I'm using bracket notation, but this is an object. So don't get confused and say, hey, channel's an int here, because it's not. Channel's a string here, and I'm just using bracket notation on the object, not bracket notation to pull in an integer. Since we're really having a list, it's easy to get confused into what that would be. Now, then we're going to push. Now, the subject of that specific item in the object is going to be an array, and we're going to push onto that array the context and the function. And that really is all that is happening on my subscribe. So recap, subscribe is just a function that's going to create a channel if it doesn't exist already, and then push the context and a callback function or just a function onto an array by that channel. The other piece of the mediator is the publish. So it's pub subscribe, right? So publish equals a function, and this time we're just going to take the channel. Hey, channel, go. Now we are passing more into this than just the channel, but I don't know what we're passing in because we're calling a function. It could be anything, so I'm not going to restrict it right here. And I'll show you how we're going to deal with that here in just a second. So the first thing we want to do is, make sure this channel exists. So we'll do a little bit of checking. We're not going to do a lot, but just so you can see how it works, we'll just pop that in there. Now, if that channel exists, we want to loop through everything that is involved in that channel. So we're going to do an if I equals 0, so we're going to go less than mediator.channels.length, so however long that array is, I++, not if, for. Okay, now for every subscriber to that channel, we're going to execute that method that was called. So for every subscription, mediator.channels, channel, sub I, for every subscription, we are going to execute that method. So sub.func, the function that was passed in, dot apply. And the reason we're doing apply here is we're going to pass in the context, sub.context, so whatever it sent to us, and then the args. Now the args we haven't gotten yet, but the args are going to be everything else that was passed in. So when I publish to a channel, I'm also going to send a whole bunch of other arguments with it. And we need to get those. So outside of the for loop, those aren't going to change. We are going to add var args, and it's going to be a slice of arguments. And the reason we're slicing off arguments, so arguments is all of the arguments that are passed into the function. We're going to hack off the first one because we already know it. That's channel. Everything else we want to put into our arguments, and we're going to pass that into our dot apply. So basically what we've just done is we are calling the function that was passed into our mediator with whatever context it passed in and whatever arguments were sent. Now that's our whole mediator. Remember on our observer side, we had a whole bunch of stuff. On the mediator is much simpler because it's really just going to pass things around. You can make the mediator a lot more complicated, but we're going to keep it pretty simple for right now, just so you can see how it's done. Now I've got my methods. Our revealing module pattern says I've got to now return those methods. So I'm returning the channels, subscribe, and publish. And I'm returning the channels so that I can get access to it again later, because I'm just declaring it as a variable and I'm doing mediator dot everywhere. So just a slightly different look on the revealing module pattern that we've had up till now. Okay, so now that we've got our mediator, let's fold that up so we don't get confused. I've got my task, I've got my services. So now let's start adding things into my mediator. And to add that, we just do mediator dot subscribe. And I'm going to subscribe to the complete channel. I could subscribe to whatever channel I want. It doesn't matter, remember, because if I pass in a channel that doesn't exist, it's just going to create it. So when I do a mediator.subscribe complete, it's creating that channel, and I'm going to pass in my notification service, and I want to do update. So when it executes the update function, remember it's doing apply using that notification service. And let's do two more. Let's do ls and audit. All right, so all three of those are subscribed and ready to go. The only thing that I still have to do is publish to the complete channel. And we're going to decorate task one. We're not going to do full subclassing. We're just going to decorate task one so that it's calling to this channel whenever complete is happening. So let's do this. Task one dot complete is going to now equal something else. And I'm overriding that function with a new function. And the first thing we're going to do is a mediator dot publish. And we are publishing to the complete channel, and we're passing in this. So the context of task one. And so remember, if you look up at our actual publish service, so let's blow this back out. If you look at our publish service, it only takes channel. We didn't pass in the task. Well, we're passing it in. That's why we pull out the rest of the arguments and then pass them in when we do the function.apply, because now I'm passing in that task that's going to be necessary for my notification service, logging service. They're expecting a task to be passed in. Okay, so mediator.publish this, and that's great, but now I've overwritten my task1.complete. So we've got to call task1.complete. So that's actually coming off of the task.prototype.complete, and we're going to do .call and pass in this. So I'm calling the complete function with the this context. And now we're doing this to complete instead of save, so we'll change this to complete. Okay, so recap real quick. We've got three services: our notification service, our logging service, our auditing service. That's the same that we had in the last one. We've built this mediator, and all the mediator is for this. You can make these a lot more complicated, but all it is for this is just a subscribe method and a publish method. And then a list of channels, and that list of channels just has a channel name with an array of subscribers. And so mediator.subscribe adds our services to the subscription. Mediator.publish sends a message and a context to everybody that subscribed to that channel. And then task1.complete. So when I run this mediator, you'll see notifying, logging, and auditing, and completing task. So I have subscribed to a complete, and I have now executed those 3 subscriptions when I did my task1.complete. So that's the mediator pattern. That's a simple version of the mediator pattern. You can make this significantly more difficult if you want to, and put all sorts of decision points in on everything, and you can manage all that here in your mediator. But beyond this basic framework, pretty much the sky's the limit. But once you get this framework to work, you can do whatever you want with the rest of this pattern.